In the story of Purim, there's a terrible gzeira. The Jews were set for extinction. Haman wanted to kill the Jews. He spoke to the king Achashverosh, and he said, I'll give 10,000 silver coins to get rid of the Jews. Achashverosh said, keep the money. I'm in. Let's get rid of them. And through God's miracles and the coincidences of Purim, or as the saying goes, coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. So the coincidences, which are really the hidden miracles throughout the story of Purim, the Jews were saved. Yet regarding this plan of extermination of the Jews between Haman and Mordechai, the Gemara in Megillah brings an interesting parable to describe what Haman and Achashverosh were thinking. I'll read from the Gemara. This is in Megillah Daf Yudalid. What can we compare this conversation of Haman and Achashverosh to? L'shnei b'nei Adam, to two people. Echad hayalei tel b'sech sadehu. One had a mound in his field. Echad hayalei charetz b'sech sadehu. And one had a ditch in his field. Bal charetz amar mitin li tel zeh b'damim. The one with the ditch, which was Haman, said, if only the one with the mound will give me, if only he'll sell me his mound so I could fill my ditch. Bal hatel amar mitin li charetz zeh b'damim. The one with the mound said, if only the one with the ditch will let me use the ditch so I could take my mound and put it in there. The Yamim is davagu zeh eitzel zeh, until one day these two meet with each other. Amalei bal charetz le bal hatel. Haman, the one with the ditch, tells the one with the mound, please sell me your mound, sell me the Jews so I could exterminate them. Amar lai, and Achashverosh says back, Tolesa, take this mound, bechinam v'halavai, if only you'll just get rid of it for me, you don't need to pay me anything. That's the story behind Haman and Achashverosh. And the famous question to ask on this Gemara is, why do we need this whole story? We understand, Haman hates the Jews and Achashverosh hates the Jews. They both find them a nuisance. So what exactly are we trying to gain by bringing an example of two people that have a field, and one had a ditch, one had a mound? Is it just semantics, or is there actually a new layer given to this story and understanding the mentality of Haman and Achashverosh? And the Rebbe, in the year Tafshin Chafei, uses this as a very fundamental Gemara to actually tell us the psychology of anti-Semitism. And why is it that certain people just don't like Jews? And the Rebbe says the two layers of anti-Semitism. Layer number one is there are those that find the Jews just to be like a mound. The existence of a Jew just irks them. I just want to be me. The world is primarily not Jewish. The planet Earth is Olam Hazeh, a place of humanity, a place that's not necessarily a godly spiritual place, a place where the non-Jew is meant to feel at home. And the fact that there are just Jews existing over here just irks certain people, and therefore they are anti-Semitic and uncomfortable around Jews. However, why is that? We're such a small people. We're less than 1% of the world's population. Why is it that we make so many people uncomfortable? And for that, you have the deeper psychology, which is Haman's psychology. Haman was a deeper guy in general, more manipulative, thoughts through, and sensitive to spirituality than Achashverosh. And we see that Haman didn't find the Jews to just be a mound and a nuisance sitting on their field. Rather, he found his field had a ditch. His experience of the Jew wasn't a mound, but it was a lack of dirt. It was a hollow cavity. It was a hole in his field, which was a result of the Jew. Why was this? Because a Jew represents God's consciousness. A Jew is brought to this world, a Jewish soul, Atem Edai. As the Navi says, you are my witnesses. We are meant to be God's witnesses and bring godly consciousness and conscience, moral conscience to this world. As it says, when we receive the Torah on Har Sinai, why is the Mount Sinai called Sinai? Because the word Sinai also means Sina, hate. And it says that when we receive the Torah at Har Sinai, then Yarda Sina L'Ummai Sa'ilam, the nations started hating the Jews. I guess a basic example of this would be, let's say you're not acting in the way that you should be, and someone nearby acts at a very high moral way. So either you're inspired to live like him, or if you're not inspired to live like him, so then you're just bothered by the fact that he's representing a higher way of living, and you're not. The non-Jews were offered the Torah. They didn't accept it. The Jews did accept it, and now this became the source of civilized, moral way of life, as historians which has been written in many a book, that most of what we find civil and a moral way of living really stems from the Abrahamic faith and the Torah. And so we become the moral conscience of civilization. So there are those that are inspired by that and want to be elevated and learn from that. And if not, then there are those that just find that voice as a nuisance. I want to do whatever I want, but I have this conscience in me saying, you're not doing the right thing. You're not doing the right thing. So either I need to start doing the right thing so that I could sleep peacefully at night, or if I don't want to do the right thing and I just have that voice telling me you're not doing the right thing, so then I just want to get rid of that conscience. That conscience. You're making me feel empty. You're telling me that I'm not doing the right thing, and I can't feel good about myself, and I can't just be and do whatever I want. And that's what the Jew is, that conscience about there's a better way of living. There's a more moral way of living. There's a God in this world that watches what we do, and we're accountable to him. And therefore, the Jew makes someone that's not willing to live properly feel a ditch. And therefore, for the simpler anti-Semite, he feels a mound. This Jew's there, it irks him. Why does it irk him? Look at Haman, because the mound is a result of the ditch. And that's why Haman hated the Jew, because he felt the emptiness from seeing that there's conscience, God's presence is in this world, as found in the Jew. And Achashverosh was just basically irked by the Jew, without being conscious of this reason. And that's the anti-Semitism hinted to in the mound and the ditch. Now, if that's the case, how do we fight it? We don't fight anti-Semitism by trying to appease, the voice of conscience can't become the non-voice of conscience in order to no longer appease the anti-Semites. I'll give an example for this. Let's say you have a rebellious teenager doing some dangerous, toxic, not good things in front of their parents, or the parents are nearby watching them. So obviously they're going to be very irked by their parents. No, you're uncomfortable with me doing this stuff. So the parent doesn't want to be on bad terms with his kids. So he gets down there and starts doing it with them, saying, no, you're right, this is great, this is awesome. We're not really your parents, we're your friends. When parents try to become their kids' friends, the kids don't even respect their parents. Because first of all, you're not my friend, you're my parents. You are the one that's meant to be giving me that conscience, and you're just not fulfilling your role. And then I can't really be comfortable with you as my friend, because that's not you. At the end of the day, if the Jew is that voice of conscience, then the best way of fighting the anti-Semitism is with Prosemitism, with us really being us and doing our mission to this world. The parent can't just start doing the toxic behavior with the kids. The parent needs to do what the parent needs to do, and then they're respected, and then they're accepted as well. There are going to be those that still don't like us, and there could be many that still don't like us. But with this, there's the famous medrash that the Jews are compared to a sheep surrounded by 70 wolves, and great is the shepherd who protects us. In other words, we don't fight anti-Semitism with diplomacy. We don't fight anti-Semitism with trying to appease and trying to just be like everyone else, because that's not our role, and it just falls flat, similar to the parent trying to just appease and become a rebellious teenager with his kids. It falls flat, and he's not even going to get what he wants, and the kid's just going to try to rebel and feel more animosity and negative feelings towards his parents. The parents need to be parents and the voice of consciousness, and maybe it's going to be uncomfortable for some, but that is our role. And if that is our role, we can't deny ourselves who we are, and we can't not fulfill our mission, and we'll only be respected when we fulfill our mission. However, for us to we need to be proud Jews. We need to be proud Jews that learn Torah, spread Torah, do mitzvahs, and represent God's consciousness to the world in a serious, strong, and proud way. And what's going to happen to us? Great is the shepherd who protects us from the 70 wolves. Has a great line, the famous line from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs: the world respects Jews who respect Judaism. The world is embarrassed by Jews that are embarrassed by Judaism. This holds true today more than ever, with whatever's been all the anti-Semitism that's been uncovered from after October 7th. And it shakes us and it shocks us. And what we need to do is then lean into our identity. As much as we try to assimilate, as much as we try to be just another person just like everyone else around us, we're not. So let's lean into that. If we're here to be bring God consciousness to this world, then let's bring God consciousness to this world. It's not by preaching, it's by living out the way God wants us to live out, through learning Torah, through doing mitzvahs. Yes, we could go through the steps of diplomacy, but really we don't bank our trust in the people around us. We bank our trust in our God and in representing Him and in doing what He wants us to do. And that's when we're like the parent. That's when we end up being respected even by the nations around us, being loved and cherished by the nations around us, for doing that mission that we're sent, that holy mission that we're sent here to do. Have a great Shabbos and a Freilichen Purim, and we should hear good news.